Hello and welcome to our inaugural episode of Digital Suffering. I am the co-host, Steven Something, and we have our actual host,
PhamtomLimb.
Those aren't our real names, but not really care about that. They could be our real names, but that would be weird. Anyway, for this episode, we are going to cover the very wonderful, very high production valued Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer. I'm looking very forward to this movie. We got it playing right now. You're not obviously going to see it. We're going to be showing some other stuff. We might show bits, especially when human teeth come up, but that's neither here nor there. So, PhamtomLimb, or Mr. Lim, as I'm recording now. Give us your honest opinion of this. Based on the trailer, was this something that you would like to watch? Ever?
No, not ever.
I don't know. This, it's like, so even if it was on television and you were like sitting down and you were like, oh, there's nothing else on, you wouldn't watch it just to see.
Read a book.
As
Play a game.
You're just not
Save
even,
electricity.
You're not even curious about it.
I feel sorry for James Marsden.
James Marsden's in this?
The fact that he has resorted to acting in this to keep his career alive, yes.
Okay.
Jim Carrey, well...
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's like, what was the last thing Jim Carrey's done that any of us remember?
Thingy 2, what was that boring ass comic book? Kick-Ass 2.
What? I'm sure he's done stuff since then.
Yeah, I'm sure he has, but
yeah,
Jim Carrey's not on my radar.
Yeah, it wasn't on anyone's radar.
And, well, he also, like, I wonder if he's going to do the same with this, where he was in the movie but then refused to do the the publicity junket thing. He did no interviews, he refused, absolutely refused, even though it was in his contract.
Wow. And that's why he's not in Kick-Ass 3, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah, he looks like a little wolf boy, that horrible derogatory term that people use for people that have hair growing over their entire body. That's what Sonic looks like. Yeah,
it's like not lupine. It's, what is it called? It's called something.
Yeah, it's weird. He's an odd size as well.
It's a very weird thing that as whoever designed the character said, this is what we want. We want it to be as human as possible.
And 3 foot tall. Why 3 foot tall?
It's like, well, he's going to be an alien, but we want him to be closer to human so people will relate to him, not realising that just he is a prisoner of the uncanny valley at this point. Oddly enough, you see that on the rooftop scene, he looks a bit more furrier compared to some of the other.
Well, he's got inconsistent size as well.
It's like, they changed the model on rendering, partway through it. Who knows?
For convenience sake, this hedgehog, blue furry boy, may change size during the production of this film.
Hypertrichosis is the werewolf syndrome where you get the hair over. So yeah, actually yes, you're right about the inconsistent size, because although he's like well over a meter tall, he fits into a small. He tucks into that duffel bag.
Yeah, which is
very
not
very
particularly
easy,
big,
considering how much stuff he's composed of.
Yeah. And on the rooftop scene, he seems less than waist height, and unless the other characters are huge,
or maybe he's got Benjamin Button syndrome, where he's shrinking, he's becoming younger.
Throughout the course of the movie, he's turning into a real hedgehog.
And then during the end credits, he's small and just waddles around and can't go very fast at all.
And also bears no likeness to a real hedgehog.
No, he'd bear an actual resemblance because he'd be like just Hedgehog but blue, and then Doctor Robotnik can like capture him and that'll leave open for a sequel where the humans have to rescue Sonic the Hedgehog. Sequel.
It's good that
this is great.
Jim Carrey brought his Ace Ventura to this production as well.
It's well, the thing is,
it's just Ace Ventura in this.
It is kind of Ace Ventura, but this is like annoying Ace Ventura. This is like because I mean Ace Ventura. Okay, he's kind of it was annoying, but he was funny at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas here, he's just being like
an arse.
A complete arse, just because he's because of his superiority complex. Which is like, okay, that's fine, but just human arse. It would be nice if they had like a bit more. People would sympathise with him at least a little bit. If he was like a humorous arse, but now he's just an unfunny arse. We will see.
Since you're going West Country with your arse.
Arse. It's a regional dialect. Yeah.
Also, there's a weird bit at the end of this trailer.
Yeah.
Which I didn't mention before, but there's a weird bit where Robotnik at the end. Also, they're calling him Robotnik in this film, not Eggman, which is good. But he is bald and his moustache has grown a great deal more. Is that supposed to be like some future
if you also look at him, he's actually slightly larger as well. Because obviously
the character's meant to be fat.
Yeah, he actually, by the looks of it, he will by the end of the film he is going to change, so he more closely resembles the classic Eggman. So there's that. But then it's like, well, why is he, gaining size or something? It maybe you say, well, okay, he extracted power from the one of the quills, replicated it, and says, okay, now he's got like some kind of superpower and that's caused him to change physically. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but the fact that they didn't like sort of fat suit him a little bit, from scratch and say, here he is, and just have him like thing, and then accident happens and he loses his hair and becomes more wild and the classic thing. That's fine, but we'll see. It's
should we talk about the ring and the teleportation?
The ring and teleportation. It's like, well, if you can teleport places. Wouldn't you just use that like all the time?
I'm slow because I can teleport. I'm fast and I can teleport.
Yeah, it's like.
Also, where does that ring come from?
Well, the thing is, by looks of it, he ran down the building and threw it.
Sure.
Up underneath them.
He's got a ring matted to his fur at all times, just in case.
He's like a marsupial. He has a pouch.
Gross.
Where he keeps his young and his golden rings.
Gross.
He's an alien. It's alien technology.
Yeah, he does say your planet.
Yeah, no, it's maybe the thing is he could say, oh, he's a trans-dimensional thing. He came from the game universe, and now he's been made real.
That'll be weak. There's a weak film that they made that whole thing about Pixel.
Pixels.
Where it was aliens used game characters in order to try and destroy the human race.
The Pixel short. You've seen the short, right? The short that it's based on.
Maybe, yeah. It was totally animated, right?
Yeah, it's about 5-8 minutes long.
I probably have, yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially it's almost like a tech demo where someone did this, like these digital creations coming into the real world and sort of interacting with it. And you watch it, it was quite amusing. And then, what's his name? Adam Sandler. It was.
I haven't watched it.
I've watched a few bits, and I've watched.
You can find it on streaming services now. Not to watch.
Watch it with Amazon Prime. This video is brought to you by Amazon Prime.
It's also available on other streaming networks like Netflix.
But none of them are sponsoring us. Netflix, sponsor us, and we'll totally give you a shout out. It's the problem is it became a vehicle just for their egos almost, and they stretched an 8-minute shorts into a feature-length movie, which is like totally not necessary. But then again, you could say the same about Battleship or some of these other.
What? I love Rihanna in that one.
I watched a bit at the beginning, but it was like it felt like a Transformers movie because the aliens were like, the Transformers messy metal. It was like, why is this just not part of the Transformers franchise instead? It would have probably been more. You'd have probably got more people to watch it.
We've got 6 months to wait before we can not watch this Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
November. Holy moly! In that case, they got plenty of time to correct the. Yeah, that's it. It was called with all the. I mean, have you seen some of the people that the art that they've changed the?
No, I have zero interest.
They made it, but some of the things they've obviously made it more like the, and you look at it and it's just the problem is you know the uncanny valley. The uncanny valley.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, okay. I'll summarise for the benefit of the people listening. The uncanny valley is where, as you get a digital or physical creation like a doll or something, and you make it more human. You can plot a graph of how appealing it is to people. So as it gets closer to human, its appeal drops, and you start to feel revulsion until you get where it becomes very close to human, and it comes out. You see it in a lot of like early CGI characters. If you watch, I don't know, Final Fantasy VII movie, Advent Children.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Where the people they're very plasticky and they don't look real. You see a lot of it with a lot of bad CGI. It's just like things they're trying to look human, but they don't look human enough. And as a result, you go, ugh, you feel revulsion towards it. And that's what the kind of valley is. So,
but isn't that kind of down to the person?
There's cultural things and stuff, but it's generally it's a well measured effect. And you see what's called with. Going back to the Final Fantasy thing, with the later Final Fantasies, where although they've improved the CGI, they've also changed the proportion. So they've got, the eyes are not so much human; they're a bit more anime in terms of appearance.
Sure.
And if you skew it a sort of like slightly cartoony way, it actually lessens the effect. So although it kind of like it's more appealing, even though it's not necessarily 100% human. So that way you kind of sort of dodge it. But having said that, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the NVIDIA tech demos where they've done the digital faces just completely.
No.
Dude, what do you not live on the internet at all?
Try not to. I try to live in the real world.
So NVIDIA have come up with some tech demos to demonstrate the wonderful new shiny cards. This video is brought to you by NVIDIA. NVIDIA. Graphics cards.
It's really not, but we'd like it to be.
Yes, NVIDIA, send us some free cards. I don't need them, but my Phantom here would love to have them. He can sell them on eBay. Not that we're going to do that. We'll review them, honest. Anyway, so they did tech demos where they demonstrated the power of the rendering. And, they sort of said, right, they had two pictures. One's a digitally rendered face, and one is like a human. And you have to say which one is the digital face and which is the rendered one. Well, so which is the real and which is the rendered. And you look at them and you're like, unless you go scroll back up. If you look at that, it's like which one's the fake?
Of these two?
Yeah, of those two. And it's like this is the level of rendering we can do these days, and it's very amazing.
But it's not the real time rendering.
Yes, obviously the sheer number, but then you can just do if you do like Pixar, you just render farm it. You could technically have, a full on thing. But yes, but the problem is in motion. Then you start to get things where the face doesn't necessarily animate because they don't have all the muscles. The skin doesn't behave like normal skin. There's things that you could still pick up on. But the fact is that you go back 3 years, you go back 5 years. And the fidelity was not that good unless you had a team of 100,000 people at HP just, rendering for a month or two.
It's like what you said about Advent Children.
Yeah.
And then if you look at something like Resident Evil 1 that came out on I think it came out on the original PlayStation, right? And nobody cared. I mean, the graphics were even a little bit blocky at the time. Nobody cared, right? And every iteration since, it's not really been... I don't think it's ever really been somebody's point of view to say, they're not realistic enough.
But yes, for a game, there are upper limits, and people don't go, it's not I'm not going to play it because it's not realistic. But you can trace the generations.
Yeah.
As in terms of in terms of improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. Things like there are a few things in games like Anthem where the person's eyes follow and they sort of have micro expressions.
Yeah.
And that's really good. I like that. But then I wouldn't say the characters' faces are hyper realistic like this tech demo stuff.
But yeah, there are again. It's that real time issue where there is a limit to how much how many polygons a GPU can move at the time. So
and I mean, from my personal point of view, I'd rather have a game that was playable than a game that just looked great.
Yeah. Okay, Anthem.
Anthem's fine.
Anthem
has the same problems as any game of its type, a loop-based game where you're doing the same thing over and over again, has the same problems as all of them, as the Path of Exile's, Diablo 3's, insert name here.
Yeah.
Because of the player base is expecting a thing, the publisher is trying to get the game out, the developer is trying to make the game the people want, but the people want are so diverse in what they do want, and then they change their minds week upon week upon week.
But the thing is, you can say, they change it, and you can say, well, the developers. But the thing is, you can get developers say, this is our vision, this is what the game is, and the people would accept it. The problem was that with Anthem, they had issues where they did not have clear leadership for such a long time that it became a mishmash.
I mean, it's like friends of mine that go on. I've had conversations with people I've worked with, and they're talking about, oh, do you know this DOP? And I'm like, no, I don't give a shit who the DOP is.
Demonetization.
I don't care most of the time who the director is. I just care about the end product of the film, and it's the same with the game. I don't give a shit what the developer went through, BioWare or EA or anyone. I don't give I could give less of a about it. The point is, I want the game to be the thing they said it was, and the game to be enjoyable for me. And the politics behind it, I may not agree with, but I also don't want to know about.
Yeah. But the problem is that the politics also shape it and can shape its future as well. Maybe this is the issue. Part of the issue is that with game developers who say, oh, check it out, this is our game, it's coming in like 2 or 3 years' time. It's like...
Come into a cinema near you.
It's like, why announce it so far in advance? I mean, you could show, like, say, we got a game for stuff, but, like, just finish the game, or, like, wait till 6 months before you're ready to release and say, here's the hype. Because hyping it up, like, 3 years down the line, 3 years before it releases, makes no sense. You don't get additional revenue. It's not going to cause more hype. You start hyping 6 months before you release. That's when you do it. That's when you get geared up, because then people will say, oh, this looks great. It's almost, it's ready. I can't wait. I will pre-order.
Sure.
But
and it's like games companies now are, this is the one that gets under my skin and I hate it. And being a gamer, I'm revolted by it. It's the whole thing of giving the game to streamers or people who are not going to...
Influencers.
Yeah, that's what they call them now.
Roll the eyes.
People who do not care about the development of the game. All they want to do is expand on their own platform. They hardly ever feedback from what I've seen, and all they do is take the opportunity
to self-promote.
To self-promote and to rag on the game and say, check
it out. I'm saying this game is crap. Check it out.
Exactly, because negative feedback is always more popular than positive feedback. That's why YouTube has so much negativity on it.
that's
yeah. If you type in a game, just any random game, and then say sucks, is bad or sucks or whatever phrase, you will get 10 times more than if you typed in is good or great or whatever. You'd get 10 times more videos, and it could be on the same game and the same points of view. They just want to be negative, and that gets views. And there are big influencers, shall we call them,
Air quotes.
Yeah. I'd call them something else. That do this constantly.
That would demonetize us.
Literally do it constantly. And I hate that the game companies have resorted to giving the game to people who don't care instead of... This happened with games like Dark Souls 3, for instance. Has a cult following and a massive player base that was waiting for this game, and all they did was go, oh, well, we're going to give free copies to this bunch of losers, so and then you're going to get to play it whenever.
Well,
so it's like, F the fans, don't release the game, just give a pre-release copy to somebody who actually watched a stream where the guy was like, oh, never played a Dark Souls game before, but I've got this, let's see how we go. Hated every moment of it. But it's okay because he got some views. And they got zero feedback, except he hated it because he can understand what was going on.
Maybe the thing is that they say, well, any attention is good attention.
Yeah, that's true to a certain point, but when you're alienating your fans to get that attention, maybe that's not a great point.
Incidentally, if anyone wants to send us review copies of Dark Souls 4, we are willing to
we're going to be waiting a long time for that because the series has ended.
We're willing to tell... Shh. We're willing to tell people that we hate it. Which
only if we do hate it, though.
Yeah, only if we do.
Not just for hits.
We're very honest. If we hate it, we hate it. If we don't hate it, we don't hate it. That's the way I work.
It's surreal beyond belief. It really is.
It's maybe that's the way it is. I mean, it's like people don't know how to PR properly. But if they say, well, this is what's going to get us attention, and people say, hey, I'm going to buy this game that someone hates. That's a sale you've just gained. That's how it works, right?
It's death by media. In a lot of cases.
Well, what we should do is we should say, we'll send us your games and we'll give positive reviews. That's better, right?
No, that's worse because it's dishonest.
Okay, how about this, right? We'll review it and we'll receive the review copies, and if your review of that game doesn't come out, then we couldn't find any positives. That's not lying.
No.
But we keep it positive.
I would love to get pre-release copies like everyone else does, but it would be a fair, detailed review on what is good, what could be better, and just feedback, because that's essentially why they're giving pre-release copies to people, in order to make it better for the release.
A digital dissection, if you will. We should totally call our podcast that. Don't roll your eyes at me. It was a good idea.
Anyway, such a game. There is a game that the beta came out on the 30th of April, I believe. It was released onto Steam, and it's called Last Epoch, and I'm playing it at the moment. And I will be putting up videos on my own channel, PhamtomLimb, but it's an action RPG.
Last Epoch. Mm-hmm.
And the diversity of builds is definitely there. I've gone Sentinel, Void Knight for my first build, and...
Give me the elevator pitch. What is the gameplay? What's the gameplay style?
Well, if you look here...
Okay, fire up the trailer. Let's have a look. In a world lost.
Okay, no narration, please.
Oh, come on. Dude, the people at home can't see this unless you put it on the thing.
I don't want to use a simile for it, so I won't. It's got a branching skill tree where you pick a main class and you pick a subclass. And using a passive tree, you earn extra skills. The storyline's kind of like a time-travelling, trying to un-F something that happened in the past and has affected the future.
Oh, so there's time travel involved.
Kind of, yeah. It's not like... It's like you meet ancestors of the people you knew, and you're trying to help them stop the evil that started eons before.
Any class has an attack that's just a spinning thing with it.
Just classic whirlwind barbarian from
just like
D2.
Because people just spam that like all the time.
Actually, my Sentinel Void Knight uses that to great effect.
You just put a weight on the button on the keyboard. You go off, make yourself some coffee, come back. all the mobs dead, pick up the loot.
I think the drop rate is good at the moment. It's fair, which is always nice in an action RPG. Drop rate of like legendaries and gear and stuff seems to be kind of in a good place at the moment. And picking up some of the unique items, I found a pair of gloves that has a 10% chance to release a level 15 swarm of bees. I don't know. I have no idea.
Is that strong?
Yes, that must be. It must be fairly okay, because if it's based on skill level,
okay.
if it's based on skill level, then yes, it should be.
What you want is level 15 dogs that shoot level 15 bees out of their mouths.
Yeah.
Simpsons reference.
Obviously enemy diversity and graphics and skill. I'm sure that will all improve as time goes on because there's not a lot of sound. But I have heard some commentary from a developer saying the sound's one of the last things that goes in. So in terms of voice acting and
there's no sound in it, or
there is a lot of placeholder sound. Okay. But there's a lot of promise there. I haven't been looking. It's kind of been on a sort of radar of mine because it's been a while since it came out. Since I think the alpha came out.
Okay, so let's put this in context compared to. I mean, it's ARPG, so it's sort of Diablo style, Path of Exile style. Am I right in thinking that it would be?
Yeah.
How would you describe it in terms of that? Is it would you say it would be very similar? Is it like more story driven, less combat heavy? I mean, how close similar are they? Simile. Does it make you simile?
Makes me ill. A lot of people drop the storyline in action RPGs because to go through it once is probably enough.
Yeah.
The fact that games like Path of Exile, well, actually, they all make you go through it at least once. And you can't. I mean, in Diablo now, Diablo 3, you can sort of circumnavigate the storyline completely and just go into adventure mode and just level a character in adventure mode.
Yeah.
And it's much. I mean, once you've play through the story, you don't necessarily want to see it 8 times.
You don't need to know why you're killing demons.
Exactly. You just want to kill demons.
They're demons. You kill them.
That's why they got rid of the whole going through normal,
that's their job.
Hard,
their job is to be killed.
Hell difficulty 3 times. You have to play through the game 3 times.
Ouch.
Because it would actively curtail the amount of experience you've got.
How many hours is that?
It was too many hours because once you finished the game the first time, you could only be at level 33, 34. You could not. They would curtail the experience, and the monsters didn't scale, so you had to move on. It was horrible
because monsters were over leveled for what you were.
Exactly. It was basically what they did in Diablo 2. Another reason why Diablo 3 is better than Diablo 2.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that out loud now.
And Diablo Immortal will be better than Diablo 4.
Diablo Immortal is not a Diablo game as far as I'm aware. It's a reskin of a Korean mobile game that currently already exists. But yes, I am signed up to the beta, like I'm sure millions of people who have completely hated. All the people that were ragging on it, including the guy that said, "Is this a joke?" who is a streamer, and I bet you he is signed up to the Diablo Immortal, so he can have more negative opinions on it when it comes out.
You can't rag on it if you don't have it on hand to say.
Well, you can.
Yeah, but
because everyone already has, because no one's played it.
It's better.
I'm sure it's going to be garbage, but Fortnite's garbage, and loads of people play that too.
Oh, controversial.
Anyway, so yes, in terms of content versus. It's very. There's already in place an endless dungeon system where you can just go through a dungeon, or they call it like an area in terms of a time, so it diversifies on enemies, and then you've got your box where you can put your loot that you found, and then you go through another portal to another age where there's different things. So stuff like that's already in the game.
So the time travel aspect is just a way of diversifying the enemy set. Then.
Yeah, it's just like
no, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like Sonic the Hedgehog had
Green Hill Zone.
Yeah, snow area, fire area, underwater area, whatever. It's exactly the same.
Game tropes. It's fine.
Exactly.
We play games. We
know
what we're doing.
They've just done it in a slightly different way.
No, that's fine. If they justify it, it's like, well, now you're going. This is the lava section because
and they don't need to create consistency between one to the other.
Yeah. It's good. It's good, and it obviously allows them just to, put a lot more variety than just your average bunch of skeletons and demons. Although I say that looking at it, and we see some skeleton demons on the screen, so there is that.
Yeah, the more I play it, the more I want them to put things into it already, and so I can get closer to the final copy.
How far away are they from actual release?
I don't know. I heard a figure of a year, which I hope it's not that long. But the developer that I was listening to, who was talking, also said that. Now I hope this kind of sold it to me on another level in terms of value for money, because it's not that cheap on Steam for a beta game, which I get it. The company needs funding, but to shell out like £27 or whatever it is still £27.
That's game money.
Yeah, exactly. That could buy you 3 games on Steam, 3 good games on Steam.
Let's just sidetrack for a sec. Having played so far, have you got a fair amount of money's worth out of your gameplay? Are you satisfied with what you played with so far?
Yes, but it's also perceived for what the final thing is going to be.
Well, okay, let me put it this way: Have you encountered much that would say that this detracts from it being a polished game? I mean, does it feel close enough to, ignoring say the placeholder sound and stuff, but I mean, is it very close to where you reckon it would be?
Yeah, it's like 75% to where it should be.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are fixes that need to happen.
Yeah.
Like when you walk in front of things, they don't become see-through or dissolve.
Oh,
in some cases.
It doesn't hide scenery.
Yeah. So
are they going to implement that?
They better implement that, because it's already annoyed me and I've only been playing for a few days.
Time to fill out some bug reports.
Yeah. Why your stash fills up from the bottom and not the top when you auto-click items into your stash?
It fills from the bottom?
Yes.
So all the empty space is at the top of the screen?
Yes.
That's weird.
That's I've never encountered that. I mean, all of these games, Diablo, Path of Exile, all of them have an annoying way of doing things.
It fills in from the side.
Right, but this one has a particularly annoying way of doing it. More different that it is annoying.
They have to differentiate themselves from a crowded marketplace.
The sort button in your inventory does jiggle things in a very odd way as well.
It's a shuffle button.
Yeah.
Like your playlist.
Yeah. It's like you can press it and it will create no more space than it had before.
Unstacks
because
items.
It will stack things up and right. Sorry, up and left. It will stack things up and left.
Yeah.
But then it won't maximise the space that's left.
I take it you've got objects that take more than one slot and stuff, and you have to...
up to, I want to say 8.
So you have to Tetris
Tetris
your storage space.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fine. And the fact, if they just... Maybe they should make it a sub-game. And then when you make a complete block, all your stuff disappears and you get a Tetris.
No. I don't want my stuff to disappear.
Well, that's why it shuffles it round and doesn't do it properly, because your stuff will disappear. It's a feature, not a bug.
Displaying DPS as well. It's like you've got a stat sheet that has the most micromanaging stat points ever, and then right in the bottom right-hand corner, almost as an afterthought, they're like, oh, we haven't added a DPS. Let's put it in a big number arbitrarily in the bottom right-hand corner of this stat sheet. And it's not... Yeah, it's just weird.
Is it any relation to your actual stats?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Yes. But there's a lot of stats that you can get, like intelligence, strength, dex, attunement, vitality, which on gear, I mean, in a similarly placed, let's say, ARPG, you would have had, by this point, I'm encroaching on level 50, and you would have had items that were like giving you, 100 to strength or 50 to strength. It's all arbitrary.
Yeah.
Because the 100 could equal 1 attack point.
Yeah.
So, but in Last Epoch, they've decided to go more on the, this has got 1, this has got 2. I think the best item I found so far has got 3 to a stat point.
Which, it's like, so legendaries are like +5 or something.
Some of the legendaries I've found don't even have stat points on them.
That's not a good way to get people to crave the gear treadmill.
I found the same, like, in terms of loot drops, me saying it was in a good place, which I think it is. I found the same unique pair of gloves, they call them uniques in this game, 4 times.
That's the opposite of unique.
And while I understand drop rates of certain
some
items...
of them have bad stitching, perhaps.
No. Also, there's no diversity on the stat on these as of yet. Obviously, so I think that's going to come in...
All the items of the same type have the same... There's no stat
variation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where I can see that they're going to implement it, because on rare items, if you alt, you get more detail, and it can waver between 10 and 15 or whatever.
But it just doesn't do that at the moment.
Yes. Okay, on the legendaries, they are carbon copies of each other.
Especially the unique gloves are carbon copies of all the others.
Yes, gloves. So there was no incentivization for me to keep... I mean, I kept one pair because it was like, I am going to create another build and these may be useful.
Yeah.
Instead of taking them off the build I'm currently working on. So in that respect, fine, great. Have no problem with it.
Okay. So, looking to the future, do you think that this is something you will be playing on a regular basis going forward? Once it goes live.
Oh, well, I'll probably make at least 3 builds in the next couple of months.
Wow.
At least 3. I can already think of 3 that are different enough from each other. And then, I mean, the only thing about making builds now is that there are some skills and some skill trees that... some skills on the skill trees for certain skills, if that makes any sense, that aren't yet implemented because the developers haven't got that far.
I heard you like skills, so we've got some skills on the skills. It's that old.
But it's if you can imagine, if you get a skill, like to use the example, Diablo 3, right? Mm-hmm. So once you select the skill in, let's say, Whirlwind, you then have 5 runes which will alter that Whirlwind skill in a certain way.
Yeah. Extra damage or element damage. And
exactly.
Stuff. Yeah. Sure.
Exactly. So this does it in a very similar way, but it doesn't give you 5 options. In some cases, it will give you 20.
Our options are good.
Yes. And then as you progress the level of that skill, so the skill itself levels up from that point, you can put points into these things that will alter the way it behaves.
Yeah.
And that's great. That creates build diversity right there. Even if you are using the same skills, you could use them in a completely different way, because there's some skills that will, like there's a hammer throw that I've got with the Sentinel, and it currently returns back to me. Okay. And there's a couple of attribute trees through the skill that will mean that it doesn't return back to me. There's ones where it bounces between enemies.
Sure.
There's another one where it just stuns them dead and doesn't return.
Yeah.
I find the returning one helps it.
Having to go and retrieve it interrupts your...
Well, no, you don't have to retrieve it. It's like an ethereal hammer that you throw.
Oh, you just regenerate a new one.
Exactly, okay. Yeah. So, but if it returns back to you, it does damage on the way back as well.
Yeah, return damage.
And if you run away from it, because the hammer slows down with the more damage you put into it with a certain attribute,
you can use it as an orbiting.
You can run away from it and use it to keep hitting enemies that are following you. Bit game breaking in some respects, but it's not strong enough to break the game.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Exactly. And then
Please don't patch it out. Please don't patch it out.
And then you've got another version of the hammer where it rotates around you, getting further away from you in a similar style to Diablo 2's Paladin, where his little hammer would spin around in concentric circles, ever getting away from you, and do damage to a wider audience, shall we call it.
Yeah, so if you surround yourself, then you can just maximise your damage. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's got takes on other skills that you'll go, oh, that's a shield bash, or a hammer throw, or a whirlwind, but then they take it into a different place with the amount of skills you can modify that skill with. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where build diversity really goes crazy. And then the passive tree, once you select a character, you've got 4 passive trees in order to put points into, which can then change the character again.
Okay. No, it sounds like it's got a lot of variety, and obviously variety is important because if they want to keep people, if they want to keep people in the game, they've got to give people reason to play other than just a sword that's a slightly different colour and with extra numbers on them. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the effects I don't dislike. Some of them are great. I can see some of them need work, but it's just come out beta.
Yeah.
I hope.
Still early days, and if it's a year away, there's a lot can still change. But fill out your bug reports and help them craft the best game they can do. Time to bring it out on mobile. Diablo Immortal needs competition.
You know that's become a meme now.
What is?
That's not coming out on mobile.
Yes, I've seen that a couple of times, and it's like, it was funny the first time, and
was it funny though?
Well, funny in the sense that you just go, oh yeah, Diablo Immortal.
So the company of the game you're aping has stagnated with ideas and are, for some whatever reason, releasing a version of a game that they're reskinning on mobile, and you're taking the opportunity after stealing all their ideas to jump on the bandwagon and chat shit about them. Good times.
Publicity, you grab the money because
negativity equals publicity. Awesome.
When Diablo Immortal comes along, it will, despite the haters, it will rake in millions of players purely on brand name alone.
Yep.
And these other pretenders will get swept aside if they don't have a solid base. So if they don't have enough to keep people in and say, I'm going to play this instead, they're going to find themselves going, well, we're not on mobile, but perhaps we should be because we've got like 500,000 concurrent players and they've got 5 million concurrent players, and their players can play when they're outside and our players have to come home and be in front of a computer to do so.
Yeah, but I mean it's like nobody can say that Blizzard games aren't playable.
No, of course. You don't get that big without
the best
knowing what you're doing at some point.
Exactly. The best iteration of an action RPG so far has been made by Blizzard twice.
So Diablo 2 and 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the old world, Diablo 2 was the best iteration of it.
Yeah.
It had problems, and people that say it's still the best action RPG are wrong. It's their opinion. But technically, and in every respect, Diablo 3 is an upgrade. But other games have done things like Path of Exile with their skill gems, have done things that are fantastic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some technical aspects of Path of Exile I prefer to say that I do not like them, and I don't like their pathing. I don't like the way the characters move. I don't like action buffer states when you're pressing buttons. It's just not great.
Well, that's it.
And I've played it enough to know.
If you don't do it properly, the next competitor will come along and take your good ideas and improve on those. So just hope that...
I hope Last Epoch is it's the next evolution in it. Because the gameplay so far has been like borderline. It's been better than a lot of them.
Yeah.
In terms of pretenders to the throne, shall we call them?
Sure.
And it can only get better. Hopefully, I want to say that tentatively. But it can only get better if they've got a strong base.
Yeah.
So
they just fix those little annoyances and
I'm probably not even saying all the annoyances, but
that's another podcast.
Yeah. But yes. But that's
okay.
Last Epoch.
This podcast was brought to you by Last Epoch.
It wasn't, but
available on early access. So
it wasn't, but yeah.
Well, I was going to say please send us a review copy, but
I've already bought one.
Phantom's already bought
I'm happy to buy one if it's going somewhere.
Phantom's already bought one.
It actually trumped me buying Warhammer Chaos Bane because I was gonna buy that.
Sure.
But this trumped me because the skill tree and what I saw and what I heard from the developer
very promising.
Trumped me getting that, and that I will probably get it, but it will be a much later date.
Yeah.
And he also did say something that was like, okay, this is money invested rather than money thrown away. That
we're going to take your money and throw it away.
That there will be every DLC will be free.
Whoa!
For the game. So that's essentially what Path of Exile has done because it's a free-to-play model.
Yeah.
But every DLC will be free. And this isn't a free-to-play model. There's no play to win.
There's no microtransactions.
There may be, but it will be cosmetic only.
Okay.
Which I have no problem with. I'm just not going to put my money there.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Okay. So yes. Okay. So they got additional revenue. They would have additional revenue beyond initial purchase.
Sure.
But it won't be pay to win. So that's a good way to do things.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, also there's going to be. He said there was going to be a trading auction house, and that's not real world money.
It'll be just in-game currency.
It'll just in-game currency. So trading will be open.
Yeah.
Which on Diablo 3, they went from being so open it broke the game and made everybody hate it to you have to be playing with the person at the time when the item drops in order for them to have a window to trade with that only lasts a couple of hours. Oh my god, what have you done to this game?
Well, that's it. We discussed this in a previous podcast.
So everybody's solo self-found. Yay!
Because we had so many. But I read an article that how someone meant... Actually, no, it was called Path of Exile. The one of the developers that gave a talk on their game and their models and stuff. And he mentioned how adding trading for your items gives them more value, just in terms of how they are perceived. It's not just I've got a shiny sword +5. It's either good or it's not. It is I have a something. It has value because I may not need it. Someone else may need it, and I can trade with them.
Sure.
And that gives value to the items you think, as opposed to just mindless numbers that you pick up and you either discard. It sort of helps improve the game, so that people. He said this in the talk. Other companies should be doing this, and he mentioned that Diablo did not do it well, and obviously you covered that. They completely foobarred it and nerfed it to the point where it's a non-feature essentially. But Diablo Immortal will hopefully have it. This podcast is brought to you by Diablo Immortal. Download it now. And when I say now, I mean when it comes out.
In 3 to 6 years.
Not now, because it's not available now as of the time of the recording.
It's it's weird. I read an article. Well, I didn't read an article. I read a headline to an article because mostly reading articles is pointless.
It was a very long headline.
That Blizzard aren't going to be at Gamescom this year. So whatever they are whatever they're going to announce or pre-announce to release will happen at BlizzCon. And I think they've started selling tickets to BlizzCon.
But that's it. Why, if you're going to have a major release, why dilute it? Why dilute it by having it at someone else's conference? When if you've got your own, a lot of the camera manufacturers, they don't release it. What's it called? Not photo. What's the
not the
biannual photo?
What in Birmingham?
In Barcelona, the one. Anyway, they when they release new cameras, they just do it at their own press events because they can maximise publicity. Where you're not sharing it with some other company releasing a product and saying, stealing your thunder.
Yeah, it's just like all the companies that decide to do their own E3 pre-E3 show.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo and
Sega and EA and stuff.
It just makes more sense for you to get it out on your sort of grandstanding platform because then you get to choose how long and what you say, and you're not being allocated time.
Plus, the press are focused on you and not 50 other games that have been announced in the same time period.
Also, even if they do announce a sequel to Diablo 3 that isn't called Diablo Immortal, because that's not a sequel, even if they do announce a sequel, it's not like it's going to come out in March.
Yeah, it's going to, because they're working on it. They haven't even shown previews, so it's probably 2-3 years away anyway.
Exactly. The development cycle of Diablo 3 was 7 years or some crazy.
Plus, they want to maximise Diablo-ness with the 2 and 3 peaks and troughs. So they're going to give it at least 2 years after the release of Immortal. So as its numbers start dipping, you release 4, and then people go, "Oh, let's go to 4," and then you get that wave again of all the new subscribers, people saying, "Hey, this is actual Diablo," and then Diablo Immortal 2 comes out. Although since Diablo Immortal is set between 2 and 3.
No idea.
It's set between 2 and 3. I'm telling you this because I know more about it than you do. Having a sequel would be weird because it leads into Diablo 3. So Diablo 3 is its sequel.
I would really... I mean, this is just...
But I suppose they could have one between 3 and 4 then. Bridging...
No.
What do you mean no? Yes.
They should, as from a fan standpoint...
Have a separate universe.
I would love them to, as they did with the Necromancer, which I thought was a great character, just put in the other fan favourite that everybody wanted, which was the Druid.
Okay.
Because it was kind of like a 50-50 split. I think probably the Necromancer won out of what character they wanted to add in the next sort of character expansion. It wasn't really an expansion because it sort of brought a couple of new zones and the character, and obviously its accompanying skills and armor and uniques and whatever. But as an interim between the end of the life cycle of D3, and despite people saying that has already happened, it hasn't. Whatever Diablo 4 is, because at one point Diablo 3 was going to be a third-person game.
It's a third person, isn't it?
No, third person behind the camera, behind the person.
Oh.
Anyway,
that's weird.
Yeah. So whatever Diablo 4 is, if there is a Diablo 4 and not a completely new IP, then great. But as a sort of fan service, they could release. I mean, obviously it's a lot of work, but they could release the Druid.
I think if they were going to do that, they would want one of their competitors to have done it first and say, "Hey, check it out, we're different from Diablo. We've got over-the-shoulder, thing." And then,
but there's a million games like that.
I know, but you want a successful one.
There's a million games like that.
Yes, but a million, that doesn't... It's ones where you say, I can name them.
They should reskin Crackdown 3 and call it Diablo 4. Crackdown 3, by the way, was in development for I don't even know how long. And The game is like a PlayStation. It looks like a PlayStation 2 game. Plays like a PlayStation 2 game.
I think they
pure
said,
garbage.
They said we've got
hot
this thing
garbage.
and we really want to be rid of it at this point, so we're just going to push it out the door.
So weird. It's like they paid Terry Crews all the money that went into instead of putting it into the development of the game. We're going to ride this out by putting a celebrity in it.
You know you've got problems. If you're saying, well, we need Terry Crews to save our development because
the game sucks the many.
But the question is how good is he at C++? That's what we want to know.
Right. I don't think that matters, but right.
That could explain the state of the game.
Yeah, it just looks awful. It looks awful. It looks awful.
Well, I think that about sums it up. So, in terms of Sonic the Hedgehog, I give it 5 thumbs up.
Out of how many thumbs?
It's a must-see.
Even if your IQ is below 70.
Excuse me. It looks to be hilarious. Hopefully that the...
if you don't know what that means, check out average IQ. Even though IQ is stupid and don't do it.
Let's not get into all that. That's just the IQ podcast. We're covering that tomorrow. Tune in for the IQ podcast. Hopefully the director changes will... They will change it so it becomes something that's just not a figure of hate, but who knows?
Human teeth. A figure of hate with human teeth.
Human teeth. Flash up human teeth on the screen just to appall everyone. I plan on watching it, not in the cinema. I'm going to watch Detective Pikachu in the cinema instead, because that's more... I'm a Pikachu kind of guy. But still, it looks to be good. I will watch it when it comes on television, and I'm not doing anything important. And what better endorsement can you say than that? Any closing thoughts from you, Mr. Lim?
No.